What devils? We got fucking Chris Gamble here in the fucking
Okay.
house. Fucking Chris from fucking
Is it good?
yeah, recording. Yeah, so you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, got Chris Gamble in the house and fucking Goreaphobia, Bloodstorm. What else? You're in other stuff too, right, Chris?
Um, in between Bloodstorm and Goreaphobia years back, I did a thing on the side with Jim Rowe called Den of Sin. And
Oh, I
all
don't.
I did in that was play guitar on that because I wanted it. My love for like bands like Acid and Hellion and Girl School and stuff, I wanted to have something to do other than just me, playing an instrument and singing. I'm just doing it with Bloodstorm. I mean, I'm not one of these guys that needs to do 10 projects. You know what I mean? I'm going to get my
Yeah.
point across in one, but that was just a project I wanted to do. If I was like, if I'm going to do something different, I want to do something different. Since I never got a chance to, work with any women in the metal scene, and my love and dedication for, like I said, Acid's a big one for me, and Girl
Okay.
School. And I always thought it was really cool, to just play and like let a woman belt out the siren, lead the charge. It'd be kind of a cool thing to do, and do it more on a hard rock, heavy metal end than your typical extreme, Black Death or thrash or something. So I did that in between Goreaphobia, Bloodstorm.
The hell are you smoking there, man? It looks like fucking Coelho Deville.
They're my incense, man. I have these things with me all the time. It's just a habit I have.
Oh shit! It
I
could look like
have.
it looked like you're when you first opened. It looked like you were smoking it. I thought you were taking a hit off it. Like I was like, what the fuck?
No,
Because
I
it
just
looks like
I hold it
incense.
in my teeth. I'm sorry. It's a
Oh,
habit.
damn! You're obsessed with incense that much, huh?
Yes. Back in the early '90s, like after things finished with me with Goreaphobia officially, I kind of went into doing a lot of spiritual work for myself because it's something that I definitely always had an interest in. And since I wasn't doing that anymore, I stood back from music for like a year or two, just to kind of, I'm like, all right, I want to mellow myself out, and I want to get into some of these things that I read about. I'm like, well, I really want to see what this is about and do it. So I delve into, okay, working sigil magic, doing magic squares, mantras, and then I got into trying to make my own incense. And when
Hmm.
I started to do my own incense thing, I really liked it. I enjoyed doing that with the mortar and all the thing, and I kind of learned from somebody in upstate Pennsylvania. I used to go to his shop and buy a lot of my books and materials from him, and he knew how to do it.
Okay.
So he showed me a little bit, and I just, for me, I kind of want to do it myself to really learn the trial and error thing. Get it's like anything else. If you have to fix your car and you can't afford a mechanic, you got to open the lid and figure out what the hell's going on here. So I
Sure.
figured I'm going to do the same thing just for my soul and my own well-being, because it's something I'm very immersed in all the time. So this always stuck with me. So I always have these around.
Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah.
Well, I remember from my last our only conversation that we had other than email. I remember with on Francisco afterwards. I remember you being a chatty Cathy. So I'll let you know these Zooms they have a 40-minute time limits. But if you still got shit to
All
say, and
right.
I have a huge feeling you will. When it ends, I can just send you another link. That's what I did with a bunch of others. You know what I mean? If you want to continue, it's up to you. And I'll
You're
just
the
send you.
boss, man.
Yeah, it'll take about 6 or 7 minutes to be re-uploaded because this video's got to download, and then I just send another link. But total, it takes about 6 7 minutes total. Then we just be back up and running, pick
No
back up.
problem, Justin.
And then I'll release them like spaced out. It gets more attention too. Like my video that went up today was with the death metal band Burial from Massachusetts, and it was part one.
Okay.
We did 3 parts. That's what it just ended at 40 minutes, and we just kept going for 3 parts. And so you get heads up, and I'll let you know when it's getting long.
Understood.
I'll let you know it's getting long time because it gives me a heads up. But I guess
So I
starting
could
from
wrap
there,
myself up.
yeah. I guess starting from there, I guess start from the fucking beginning. Kind of curious. Starting, you saw the Goreaphobia pictures
Sure.
came out. It's fucking behind me. Um,
Yes.
when you started that, because you're already talking about you were an Iron Angel shirt, which is one of my favorite fucking German records of all time, the Hell's Crossfire.
Oh, big influence
And so, and
for Bloodstorm,
you're
definitely.
talking about acid and bitch and old school shits. What?
Yeah.
Why did you do like a brutal death metal band? And why I asked that because when Morbidius Pathology came out, whether people realize it or do the math, that genre was super fucking new because death metal at that point,
Yeah.
when even it's in existence, but from Possessed, Morbid Angel, it wasn't the low vocals brutal yet. I mean, you guys, you don't get the credit. I mean, you weren't the pioneers, but you were at the same time frame as Mortician and Cannibal Corpse and Deicide and these bands. But nobody, other than underground people like myself, will say something like Goreaphobia. So you coming from that old school
Yeah.
background, why? What interested you to play that kind of down tuned and low vocals? You doing vocals when you're listening to more traditional heavy metal and thrash, and at the heaviest, Possessed and More of an Angel.
Right. Okay. So I could tell you, I'll tell you, by the time it was 88, that's really when I was like, okay, it was my junior year in high school. I was like, I'm really going to do this, man, because next year is my senior year. I really want to get out there and give it a shot. Yeah, because you see Possessed out there. They're, 15, 16. They made 7 churches, and it always was like uh, a very good measuring stick to put yourself up against in an age frame. Especially if you're coming from the 80s and you're seeing, I'm like, well, damn, man, that's great. And, that's the year I really got into bigger, more underground tape trading. And I got into collecting fanzines more frequently by the time 1988 rolled around, because this guy, Dave Pagian, was in Frankfurt High School with me. He was one of them guys that would have a book bag and then another book bag that had magazine and tapes in it. So lunchtime come, you're talking shop with your friends at school or whatever, and you're bringing out, you're pulling it, and you're going through the ads and all the countries that have all the interesting bands and descriptions. I'm like, this is great. And then you start getting demos. I started getting Nuclear Death and Primeval and Fatal, Necrophagia. You just starting to collect a lot of demos. But the real thing that sank it for me to want to do low. There's 3 albums that made me want to do, even though the one band isn't low, but it was the idea to do it low in a faster style. Repulsion, the first Carnivore album, and Necrophagia Season of the Dead. Those are the 3 that kind of made me want to do and to have that Kronos attitude, but the ripping power, that thriving, just saw blade ripping aggression that Repulsion had. Because at that time, for me, there wasn't a band better than Repulsion.
Yeah.
When I heard it, that Horrified album was a pinnacle for me for speed. At that time, I'm like, man, if we could get that Carnivore first album, that because to me, Pete Steele was a wordsmith with that first album. It was the most wonderful, dynamic, brilliant lyrics I've read at the time. I love my Tom Warrior stuff, and I love my Away from Voivod and all that. But the way he wordsmithed descriptions, putting words together, I loved it. And the way Killjoy, Season of the Dead, that album, every song to me, it sounded like a horror movie soundtrack. And as a teenager, most of us all were into those B horror flicks, especially Evil Dead and Phantasm and all those movies. We were big in them, and all the Lucio Fulci zombie movies. So it was really rich with that. So the idea in my head was like supernatural, gorish, kind of demonic, kind of really guttural horror with aggressive sound and energy, with a bit of a Mad Max chop in it there, and with that a bit of speediness that Repulsion had. So in my head, I was like, okay, that's kind of where I got the skeleton to want to do Goreaphobia. And then Alex lived in the neighborhood, and he was the only other guitar player in the neighborhood at the time that liked exactly what I liked. And a lot of the older guys, we were still into punk and the hardcore stuff, and Slayer and all that. They were kind of past the heavy metal hump. It was weird. My brother and some of his friends, they were in a weirder place than I was. I'm 3 years younger. I was just, I think, in the pocket in Philadelphia at the time, where it opened that idea up for me, because I didn't see anybody else in my area do that in that way. You see, everything was, Brittany Fox and Cinderella and in the area in Philly, because they were from here. So that was the thing. Nobody was touching, the real extreme horror, gore, guttural speed end of things. And I'm like, man, I think if you meshed it together, you could really come up with some really great dynamic stuff, because it just isn't being done in our area. Mm-hmm. And then, Alex loved the idea. And he's like, and then we figured, he's like, you know what? You're really good at this. You write all the lyrics and the concepts. And I was like, well, good. You write the music and I'll concentrate on this. So we decided he's going to write the music. We're going to start off the band. You're going to write the songs, the first set of songs, and I'm going to do all the lyrics. You know what I mean? Get established and get it rolling. We found Craig. Initially, we had this guy, Mike, playing drums. This guy, Mike, was a good drummer, but he was much older than Alex and I. And he had a family, so he couldn't really commit to himself. So it became hard because drummers here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it was it was extremely hard. And then to find a guy that could play that way, liked the style, had the same influences, and could be dedicated. It was hard. But we found Craig Smolowski. And part of finding Craig was Alex and I and this guy, Greg Pitluski, when we were doing a fanzine called Regurgitation. It was our first attempt at doing a fanzine here. So there was three of us doing it. We took it down to the store Rock and Roll Plus on South Street. It's the big store where you had punk and metal, real independent stores. That was the shopping spree for, you know, low income people. So but that's where you get your records and your magazines. And that's where the punks hung out, and that's where you went. So we went down there. It was a place called Record Spot, and Ann Bowman was working in there at the time. And Ann was friends with like the Dan Ability guys and the Anvil Bitch guys. Like she knew those guys. She was living in a house with other people. They kind of, it was like I guess you would consider it like I don't know, like a crash resort. There's like four tenants in there, and everybody had their own room and they had their own parties going. Well, Ann was in that clique. She worked in the store. They would sell local bands demos. So we went in there with a magazine. We started talking to Ann. She's like, what are you guys into? Because she never heard of absolutely anything underground. The heaviest thing she knew underground at that time that I can remember was like the Anthrax, the Slayer, the Megadeth,
Yeah.
a bit of Dark Angel, Overkill. The things that were more on the popular end in a magazine, not so much, nothing like, Vomit and Napalm Death and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It wasn't on her radar. It's just for her, she wasn't in that world yet.
Yeah.
But so Alex and I and Greg kind of introduced her into that. And she's like, I know a drummer because we were looking for somebody. She's like, that's where metalheads would go to get demo tapes. And me and Alex were trying to check things out to see what was happening local. And most of it was just punk and hardcore. But Craig had a band called Volotech. I think that's Volotech, was it called? Vilomosh. Vilomosh. That was his band. And they were more thrash, but more on the Sacrifice Creator. They had those influences in there, which were good because we did too. But we were trying to take that more deeper, darker, real guttural, just bloodthirsty, scent of aggression into it that we just didn't see yet. So we thought that was the ticket. And Craig, we heard us playing and got us in touch with Craig, and then boom. Then we became a three-piece. Kevin Brennan left, the original vocalist. I was only doing bass. He had mental problems. The guy was he was mental. He had substance abuse, and he was mental. He was very depressed, so he was hooked on a lot of things. And Kevin was a good guy, good soul. He just couldn't hang, and he said it depressed him to talk about the lyrics, the things that I was writing about. It was depressing him, so it was mentally affecting him what I was writing, which I thought was oh shit.
You wrote all the lyrics.
All the lyrics and the conceptual idea.
Okay.
Yes, all of it. All of that was the concept of it, the whole. I was the visionary of it in a sense.
Well, because I don't want to jump right into this question, but we'll get to that. I'm glad you said that because we'll get to a controversial part if you would want to talk about that. But before I get there, your vocal style then, and I think I asked you this off camera on Francisco's, and I've talked about it on my channel, which the Morbidius Pathology demo, I specifically love how your vocals sound. But the thing is on the Omen of Masochism 7-inch, like right out, like they definitely are different. And the only other recording where I noticed they were the same, did you happen to listen to the picture disc yet that we put out? Did you have to actually listen to it yet?
I didn't get a chance, Justin, because I'm kind of in that moving transition.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
You know what I mean? And I'll be in Pensacola, Florida.
But you see
Friday when I go, and I'll be able to hear it. But word of mouth says it sounds great.
Yeah. So, but on the B side, there's that live set, and I got that live set years ago when I was a teenager. Are you familiar? Do you know what it sounds like? Have you heard it without hearing the picture disc? Are you familiar with that recording? The tracks that are on the B side that I chose.
Yeah, that's I think Roy. That came from Roy, I believe.
Okay. Because
I think that came from Roy Fox.
That's the only recording that I heard. That's why I put on the B side that your vocals still sound the same as they do on the demo.
Right. That was the Day of Death.
Okay.
Buffalo, that show. I think that's where that came from.
I don't know because your commentary in between, it sounds like it's a goddamn maybe. Is you dedicate a song out to you said this song goes out to Suffocation for being so great and brutal, and you send out a song to King Thali, like this goes to King. No, it wasn't at that because you asked too for the organ donor. Did you guys see us at Day of Death? Do you remember us doing a song called Organ Donor? Like this is your commentary. This is what you're saying on this live show. And there's like
Oh
10
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
guys like,
right.
yeah.
You're right.
So
You're right, Justin.
that's the only other
Because that was
record.
91. Day of Death was 90.
Yes.
And that was
Yeah. Yeah.
91. You're
The
right.
live show is 91, but on that recording, and it's a good live recording. Your vocals sound just like the
Thanks.
demo. Your vocals sound just like the demo, but on the Omo Masochism, they changed. My question is, why did your vocals change? Did you intentionally change them? Did your voice just naturally change? Because they're definitely different. Like you can notice
Intentional.
why and what. So why did you
Yeah,
intentionally
it
change?
was intentional.
Why?
Well, I'll tell you, because after we did that, see, it was the tricky thing. I think if we would have actually been able to keep continuing after we made that first demo, it might have been more different. It might have stuck more to that criteria in the beginning. But the problem I personally thought was where we lived and what was going on here wasn't many people kind of accommodating to what we were really doing yet. It was catching ear, it was catching attention, but we didn't have as much backing here as we needed. And we definitely didn't have money to kind of keep going with things. So we had to really kind of struggle with getting some of those things done. Because at the time, Alex never worked. And then Craig worked, but it was on and off. And then I became the steady worker. And then it was like, it gets, then it gets difficult because we play out a lot. So we kept gigging. And I'll tell you, the thing was, we played a lot more live than we ever probably really rehearsed. It was like we played shows a lot back then because we we did help design the underground scene in Philadelphia. I mean, we weren't trying to be like, oh, it's going to be our scene, it's ours, brah, it's ours. No, we just said there's not enough of this kind of music here. Well, let's change that. Let's get some other bands that we know down here and change it and keep. We were focusing on getting other bands here and doing live shows to try to grow this scene into it. And I'll tell you, I think what happened, biggest one was, Alex wanted the second guitar player. And I agree, we needed one. Henny didn't work out, the guy that was originally supposed to be on the first demo. He basically showed up, plugged everything in, and then would leave. He'd go get weed and a bunch of sandwiches and shit, and he would be like, guys, at the last minute, he's like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. He just didn't do it. And I can't remember his exact words because Kenny was like in and out like that. He was there and then he wasn't no more, but he was supposed to be the second guitar player. My personal belief is, and it's not a shot on Henny, I don't think he could play what Alex played. I don't think he was there yet. Henny was more of a show and tell guy. I think he liked the idea of being in a band to impress locals. And I'm not trying to be mean, but his mindset was like that. A lot of guys had that mindset. Well, if I have a guitar and an amp in a car, everyone's going to want to hang on me and party, and I'm going to get chicks and this and that.
Yeah.
And that's the real attitude of it. That's how a lot of these guys really thought that. My thinking was, I'm like, that's bullshit. That's the bullshit stuff that I don't want nothing to do with. And it's why I steered a lot away from the other bands. So anyway, when we became a three-piece, that's when we did the demo, we recorded it, we started playing live, bringing bands in. Had we had a second guitarist, I think, clicking with us at the same time, to have money to record, like, because you needed a place to stay. We used to practice at his house. So when he wasn't in the band, we lost that. See what I mean? So we just kept playing live. We kept playing live. That was how we kept in practice, moreover. And then by the time John got involved, it was, we were trying to find second guitarists for Alex, and this guy, John Arcucci, came in. John Arcucci was friends with Craig because they lived in Upper Darby, which is west outside of the city of Philadelphia, right? So they lived in the same area, went to school. Well, John and Craig liked to party. They liked cocaine, pills, weed, drinking, acid. They did it all. Mm-hmm. Me and Alex didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
I don't even smoke cigarettes. I don't touch none of that shit. I mean, it's the worst thing I probably do. But, that wasn't my scene.
Yeah.
My scene was about, I want to make music. I want to make it heavy. I want to bring as many people together into this thing, and I really want to formulate something that could really be beneficial, not just for us, but for our friends that are involved, and really start, creating a scene in this area because we don't have it. We couldn't go to New York. We just didn't have money. So we were trying to gravitate everything here. So we kept pulling in lie. Let's get immolation down here. Let's get apparition, deceased, fatal, nuclear death. We were just incantation, mortician. We were just trying to grab everybody we knew to come into the area. And Ann helped us do that. So we generated a scene here from doing that. Now, the problem, like I said, with the drinking and the drugs, it's the truth. It ruins everything.
100%.
And
Yeah.
then when you get egos involved, and if they're high and drunk or they're on coke and they're pissed, and then I'm not backing down. Nobody wants to back down
Yeah.
because they're zipped.
Yeah.
So that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And now the guys that are supposed to be working together can't get along. And then all the shit and piss of everything, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, time's passing by, and other bands are growing and they're getting contracts and all this other stuff, and just John and Alex just couldn't get it together. They didn't get along. And when I look back at it, my feeling was we're sitting on a contract here that Relapse has. They were going to give us 13 grand, and we're going to go record over in Sweden at Sunlight Studios, where Entombed went. We really liked the sound. I mean, Untombed, Left Hand Path, that was phenomenal to us. Dismembers like an ever flowing stream. All that was phenomenal to us. We got it. We were in Denialists and all that stuff. We loved it. That was at that time period. Like, this really has what we're aiming for here. It's like we should, I was trying to see past the trees, and these guys got stuck in their way, and nobody wanted to give, and it crumbled. It made me not interested in doing things in that way with these guys no more. So it changed my mindset to keep me healthy in here and strong in here, to be not deceived anymore. I was like, I can't be ruined by the bullshit. I just can't. I can't have it. And I'm like, and then things were popping up. Immolation's first album comes out. Incantation's got their deal. Mortician, everybody had a deal but us. And it's a lot of it was because of the infighting. And most
Now,
of
I
it
guess
just
you
it was
kind of
ego, and it was dope.
you kind of yeah, not to cut you off, but I may as well, because I get a big question I was going to ask, and it's up to you how much you do or don't want to say. I'm not trying to start shit. I'm not trying to talk shit.
It's
Um,
okay. No,
no,
it's
but no.
okay.
So, but you're alluding to it, but we'll see what's what. You said earlier that you wrote all the lyrics, and
Yes.
a big part of it. Well, I mean, obviously you're going to know who, but obviously out of the three members on there, when
Yeah.
when we announced that we're putting out the picture list, I contacted you because honestly, I thought,
Right.
when I always thought Goreaphobia, it's nothing against Craig or Alex. I just thought Chris Gamble. I thought it was mainly his
I
band,
know.
and I just knew you were the only contact I had. For whatever reason, my brother Chase, he met you and he got it or whatever years ago. I don't even know if you probably don't even remember. I forget where even Chase met you. This is like over a decade ago. He's like, yeah, I met Chris. He's like, I have his email, and then that's when I got
Probably Sacrifice of Nazarene Child Fest. Probably down in
maybe
San
that
Antonio.
so
Those
so I
fests.
set it up to
That's
you.
where I
That
met
was
your brother down there, I think.
Yeah, so that's where I
Right.
that's why I set it up
I
with
get
you.
it.
Anyways, so we announce it coming out, the Goreaphobia Morbidus Pathology. Picture this, and you could obviously you're gonna know who. You could say whoever. We get an email from another member like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Yeah.
Like I sent us. I'm like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
I set it up through Chris." He's like, This is my band," and I'm like, "Well, I always thought it was, but so I don't know." I was like, "Well, I thought it was Chris's, but nonetheless, it's like." And I did
Right.
tell him, I was like, well, nonetheless, man, there's three guys in the demo. It's not yours. It's the three of you did it. So I guess
Yeah.
what I'm getting at to elaborate on is why does he think this? And also the two-part question, is that why
Yeah.
the band was so short-lived? Is because you guys weren't getting along back then?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing was, um, he had Alex didn't have an easy time growing up. He had a hard family. He really did. It was difficult. He really did. And I don't fault him for that. It's not his fault. He comes from a place where he's like that. And I don't think he really means to be, but he just is. He's difficult for the sake of, I think, probably because um he never really got anything unless he had to fight for it. It's like he had to fight. his family, his parents. He had to fight to get anything he wanted. He never finished school and things like that. So everything I think for him is a constant battle. It's like there's a big hole in here and nothing fills it. And the more you try to accommodate the hole, the deeper it gets. It never fills. So what happened? And then the problem that happened was it's very basic. John and him didn't get along. John wanted to be more commercial. John Arcucci. He wanted to be like Paradise Lost and Cathedral. He wanted to steer in that that later earache sort of relapse-esque nuclear blast zone where he was being more in that. I never left any of my influences at all. I never did any of that. What it sorry, it was my phone. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Hold on, Justin. I'm sorry.
Very good. Technical goddamn.
Can you hear me? There you go. Somebody tried to call me. I'm sorry. So anyway, oh God, there it is again.
These assholes trying to call again. Man, fucking up. It's like the guys walking in front of the video on a fucking live.
Come on, man.
Yeah, these fucking cocksuckers always fucking up the dog's vids.
I know, right? I'm trying to click this. There we go. Am I back?
Okay. Audio is your image.
Basically, John and Alex.
Your video's not there, Holmes. Got your video?
It's not.
Okay, no, I don't see it. No, I see it now. Okay, well, you're off now again. You were on. Yep, there you are.
Okay.
There you are.
Sorry, somebody tried to call me in the middle of the interview. Apologize. Okay, so basically, John and Alex, when we were trying to work together after Henny's departure, we made the first demo. Therein lied the problem where there was this gap. There wasn't really nothing going on. But we were playing all these shows. Meanwhile, like I said, everybody's getting signed. Well, meantime, John's trying to think, get into a big label and get signed now, or the door's going to close. It made sense to a point. He had a point, but he went about it completely wrong. With where he wanted to try to take things was completely out of the question. I wasn't nowhere. I was like, I am not being no commercial band, or I'm not into changing anything that I had envisioned for this, And Alex didn't want to change it either. Alex wanted to hone in on more guitar and stuff. I remember at the time and talking a bit more about King Diamond and Merciful Fate and getting that Hank Sherman sort of thing going, which John Arcucci was really into. And, so there was influences that were there. We had a discussion here in his house, actually, when he joined. And we're like, okay, so here John comes in. It's like, now we got to break him in. Once again, we have to push back trying to do an album because we got to break a new guy in. And Alex wanted to work with him live. We wanted to work with him live. But Alex really wanted to work with him to make sure he's going to fit and record with us. Okay, so now here we are again, playing show after show after show. Well, Relapse came up with the idea. It's like, all right, look, you guys ain't ready for an album. How about a 7, do something like a 7-inch. We were like, okay, great, that's good. I already had Conqueror of Thorns written, and I had Dementinum and Masochism, and, I had those songs already there. Conqueror of Thorns was the newest one we wrote with John involved. And that's the song where I'm like, okay, we're getting into the thrasher element. I'm like, okay, they're thinking this. I'm like, and I miss my speed metal stuff, and I'm like, some of the a little bit more raspier end. I'm like, maybe this song, I was missing Bathory. I was missing some things for a while. And I'm like, maybe this is a time, if John's going to be a little bit more intricate with Alex, and we're going to move, being aggressive, but a little bit more here and a bit more. I'm like, okay, I'm like, well, I want to punch my vocal expansion too and see where that lands, because I was like, I love that stuff. And I was like, well, maybe if I just change the tone here and there, I'll start to see, maybe get a groove, and by the time it's album time, I'll get a groove where we either be more traditional or we're part what I started out with, part with what I'm turning into. But the longer those two guys were confused with each other and not getting, it was leaving me to go, well, what the hell am I going to do if they're not getting along? It's leaving me high and dry here. So am I going to go the direction with this guy, or am I going to say, you know what? Stay with what we got. So stay this course. Let's make this record. We got songs written. We can do this. Meanwhile, Neil Baumbach from Immolation leaves, drummer. So it left the gap for Immolation. Immolation and I, we were all friends. So, I think it was Ross. I think called Alex about talking about borrowing Craig, for the tour, and Craig called us, and we were like, we were like, yeah, Craig, I mean, dude, we ain't doing nothing yet. John Akushi was like, dude, just go. We ain't getting nothing done with Alex here. Because them guys were already bunking heads. And I'm like thinking to myself, man, don't blow it, man. Don't fucking piss each other off. Don't do it, man. Don't. We're close to getting something. It's like shit. We figured. My thought was when Craig comes back, we'll be ready. We'll have a plethora of songs. We'll do this and we'll get it done. I was trying to be optimistic about that returning. Never happened. Finally, um, we got Kenny Masteler, who came from no other band, got involved. When Kenny got involved, he was this grunge guy. He was this guy into Mr. Bunghole and Butthole Surfers. He was into all that goofy like stuff,
Uh-huh.
but he liked Destruction and Creator. He liked all those things too, but not enough to stay the course like with me or the mainframe. John honed in on Kenny and got Kenny to agree with him. Now we had this divide. It was John and Kenny. I mean, it was John and Kenny camp for a new Goreaphobia, Alex and me. But the problem with Alex is he was so pissed off at John not getting along. He made me have an ultimatum. He basically was like, well, it's either you're with me or you're with them. It's the mentality he was giving me. And I'm like, man, don't make me pick sides. This isn't fair to me. I've been doing this just as long as you. We built this together. Don't do this, man. Don't do this, man. Don't freak out and don't start a fight, dude. Don't, because Alex used to do that. He would get pissed and he would fly off and just mouth, because that's how he got. He could get hot. So him and John didn't get along. That ended that. And Alex left. When Alex decided to leave, he had John McAtee on the phone. John McAtee called me with Alex there. And then John McAtee was trying to tell me how he thought it was cheesy and going to be, corny to not have Alex in the band no more. You guys shouldn't be Goreaphobia and all this. It's like John was like championing Alex's cause. It's like he had John defend himself to me. And at the time, I'm like, John, I don't want to hear it, man. I'm like, I was like, I've been 4 years into this shit, 4 years of my time too, and my money. I got 4 years vested, man. I don't want to get into these guys can't get along. I was like, I have a vision for Goreaphobia that I'm keeping in my heart and soul. I want to see this through, man. I've been working just as hard. So I'm like, where's my say? If I just take Alex's man and I got to go with him, well, I'm not getting nothing accomplished because it's not solving the problem. I'm going to have it all over again with other guys if they don't get resolved. So I was like, well, you guys ain't getting along and he's not getting along. I was like, fine, I quit. I'm like, and then Alex was like, you should quit too. I'm like, no, I'm not quitting because that's not why I'm not doing that. We spent all this time making what we got. I'm not quitting. My time and energy is important and I want to see something through. So I was like, I owe this to myself and I deserve the chance to make this work. This is my vision too. So I didn't want that jeopardized. So I tried to make it work with John and Kenny. And then that's when Spencer got in to replace Alex. So Alex was out by his own choosing. Nobody kicked him out. He left of his own choosing because he was just pissed. He didn't get his way. It just wasn't working out. He left. He was pissed and he left. And then he took it out basically on me. It was my fault
Well, so
because
why
I
is he?
didn't side
Because
with
like,
him. We started
so
just like, yeah, but dude, you did it to yourself, man.
yeah. So to this
He
day, then,
self-destructed.
and the thing is, he's probably going to see this video because I'm sure somebody's going to send it to him. So if he wants to hit me up and if he wants to do a video with me and tell his
Yeah,
side of
I'm
the
going to
story,
get shit, but I'm okay.
but I'm saying if he wants to contact me, if he wants to shoot a video and
It's
tell his
fine.
side, it's fine too. I'm just asking as a fan because I don't know. I'm just in the middle. I don't know any
Yeah.
shit. I guess what would
Oh,
you say
yeah,
to why would he
absolutely.
no, but as far as today, then why would he say that's my band? Like, what in your mind? Why would he say that? Like, that's what he said to me.
Because I really think he never let go the fact that I didn't leave with him way back. I think it really harkens back to the fact that he probably feels like, because he said it to me before when working with Jim Rowe. He said, I feel like it's 1991 all over again, like I'm betraying him. He considers me doing anything Goreaphobia without him as betrayal, and I can't do nothing without nothing at all without him. But he forgets he quit of his own choosing 2 times, not once, 2 times he quit because he's not out of that. It's this cycle. That's how he sees it. He don't see me anything other. And from what I gather, he don't even consider me a worthy musician of writing songs and doing music because I have to hear the shit on the side, like how I'm a terrible player and I don't know how to play. I'm thinking, well, I mean, look, playing with Absu wasn't fucking easy. That's the hardest, most difficult, complicated stuff I've ever played. And apparently I must have done something right because they called me back 3 other times. So, and I managed to make what, 10 Bloodstorm out, 10 albums past that. So I must be doing something right. I mean,
So if you
I'm not
guys,
here to weigh it. I'm just doing what I love to do. I can't control what's going on in his heart and mind other than I think he holds me blame for not getting what he wanted. But he keeps forgetting he chose that. He chose to leave. And he blames me for what didn't happen. Well, that's not my problem, Jack. You left. You chose to leave.
yeah.
It's like, my time and effort means something to me.
Now, if you
You
guys,
can't expect people to just up and leave because you're pissed.
if you bumped into him at a
What's that?
show, if you bumped into him at a show tomorrow, let's just say you did, would you guys be cordial?
Ah, I would say hi to him. I don't have no. I don't hate Alex. You know what I
No,
mean?
no. Do
I
you
don't
think he
hate
would
him. I
say
don't
hi?
mind.
No, do you think he would he say hi, or do you think he would just ignore you?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to
When's the last
say.
time you
I don't
talked?
know.
When's the last time you talked to him?
To physically talk to him. It's back after we did the Apocalyptic Necromancy album with Jim Rowe on drums and VJS on guitar. Um, he he was working with John McEntee playing on all the tours, and he was working with them too. Now, the problem is, wow, it was difficult. It's the same thing. He went right back into the same mode of thinking he did way back. It never left him. So I don't think even his heart he ever really maybe I don't know. He holds me to blame for what he chose to do. When he quit, it's like I feel like he blames me why he quit the first time. And then when his mind is still sunk when we started working with Jim again and having him in the band, it's like when he wanted to do something, Alex wanted everybody to stop. It's my way or nothing. It's like, well, dude, you can't be like that in life.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
just can't be that. There's 4 guys involved. You can't be like that, dude. If you have nothing to lose, if you don't have mortgage and bills to pay, well, fuck me. You don't have nothing to lose, man.
yeah.
You don't have, you could do whatever you want. Shit, it doesn't matter. I was, getting married and, had a home. I had responsibility. It didn't mean that I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jim Rowe. Jim was like, look, dude, we just think there needs to be thought and real effort involved because truthfully, we couldn't trust John McEntee because we knew he was a flake. We because he just is. For us at that time period, John promised an awful lot but didn't come through on almost anything. And he underhanded a lot of things. And it's just the reality of it. I mean, I'm sorry, but the truth of it is it was more like we were working with, I think we had people that didn't have our best interest yet again. I just think that me and Jim felt that way. It's like, look, you got to give these things a chance to. If you really cared, you have to put it together and be a team. You have to be together. You got to be a band. It can't be one guy and it's my band. It's like it's like it can't be such and such. It can't be like Jimmy Rich, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. It can't be that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a band. There's 4 guys involved. We're doing this together. We're writing together. This is the mind frame. It's like I don't want to be a solo artist, and I don't want to play for a
Right.
solo artist.
Right.
We're either all in this together, or it can't be. That thinking is, it's just not in my world.
Well, yeah, Chris,
I don't fall for it, but
we're
I
we're we're down to under a minute, so I'm gonna end it here,
okay,
and we'll pick up where we left off. I'll
okay,
send you a lot of like I said, give it like 5 to 7 minutes, but I'll send you another link. All right.
sure.
All right,
Knee
Devils. This is
break.
that. Yeah, this is about goddamn part 1. Watch out for goddamn part 2 with fucking Chris. Later,
Part two.
goddamn.
Yeah.